Hello students, good morning all of you. Um, Let us study about the sense organ, one of the sense organs in our body. All of us know that there are 5 sense organs in a body: the eye, ear, nose, the tongue and the skin. Let us today learn about the eye, one of the sense organs in our body, the eye. We will study the structure of the eyeball, the parts of the eye, the functions of the eye and a little bit of the working of the eye today. Okay, when you study about the eye, first of all, you know that eye is located in the orbits in the skull. There are orbits in the skull. It is located in the orbits in the skull. They are rounded in shape, and also when you look at the structure of the eye, it appears like this. Okay, we have eyelashes, and then you have this is the iris of the eye. This is the iris of the eye. First of all, let us look at there is a gland called as lacrimal gland. Lacrimal gland. This is a gland called as lacrimal gland. This lacrimal gland acts as a lubricant. It keeps the eye moist. It secretes a substance and which keeps the eye moist, wet. Okay. And sometimes when you are emotional, you cry. This secretes tears. Lacrimal glands secrete tears, and so the tears come to this corner of the eye like this, and then you see tears falling down like this. Tears. Okay. And what is the function of that? Tears will wash out the dust particles from the eye. Tears can wash out the dust particles from the eye, and it also has a connection like this to the eye. It has a connection called as, this is your nose. If this part is the nose, it has a connection called as nasolacrimal gland, nasolacrimal duct. So that sometimes you must have observed when you cry, you also try to bring out the snot from your nose, isn't it? Because the secretions from the eye and the mucus in the nose, they get mixed up, and then you try to bring out the snot from your eye, from your nose. So this is one, because they pass out through a duct called as nasolacrimal duct. Also, sometimes you must have noticed when you put some eye drops in the eye, you feel a sensation, you get the drops getting into the nose and then into your throat also. Because of the presence of nasolacrimal duct, the eye drops which you put it in the eyes will come into the nose as well as into the throat also. And then, so this is called as a lacrimal gland. Okay. Then you have eyelashes. Eyelashes are to, like, you have eyelids to close your eyes, and then even you have eyelashes which does not allow the larger particles to fall into your eyes. And of course you have eyebrows also. Eyebrow, of course, which is not a part of the eye, but the eyebrows will protect. It will try to, like, all the sweat or all the particles, water particles does not allow to fall into your eyes. This is simply about the smaller part, like the external part of the eye, what you can see like this. And then coming to the most important part, the structure of the eye. First of all, when you look at an eye like this, you see a black substance like this, black part, and then inside you observe one other part like this. 3 important parts. Let us see this. So this is the white portion of your eye. Which is called as sclera. Sclerotic layer or sclera, which is called as sclera. And this black part is called as the iris. Actually, it is not only black, it varies. Like, some people have brown eyes, then the iris is brown in color. Some people have black eyes, their iris is black in color. Some people have blue eyes or green eyes. So depending upon the color of the iris, you are called what's the color of your eye? Then the color of the eye depends upon the color of the iris. This iris is a colored part. Okay, so just like how your fingerprintings varies from person to person. No single person has the same fingerprinting. Just like that, the iris muscle also varies from person to person. No two persons in this world have the same identification of the iris. That's why when you go to register yourself in the Aadhaar card, they take the pic of the eye. So to know that you are so and so for your identification. So iris is even used for identification also. In some offices, instead of signature or printing, thumbprint or whatever it is, they just go and look into one machine which tells that the iris, it takes the pic of the iris and you are present there. So that also it's used in that way also. So this is the iris, and this small hole or the opening is called as pupil. It's called as pupil. This opening is called as the pupil. Okay. Now, light enters your eye through the pupil. Light enters your eye through the pupil. Actually, I draw the lateral section also. Just let me tell you. First of all, this is the pupil. And this pupil, around in the iris, we have circular muscles around the pupil like this, and also radial muscles. Radial muscles. Circular muscles and radial muscles also. Circular as well as radial. So the amount of, it depends upon, this muscles widen and constrict. They widen and constrict depending upon the amount of light that enters into your body or into the eye. When it is very bright, okay, actually when it is very bright, you don't need, that means this bright light enter into your eyes and it will spoil the cells inside your eye. So the size of the pupil will constrict. The size of the pupil constricts. Constrict means, you must learn two words now, dilation and constriction. Dilation means to widen up. Constrict means to become smaller in size. Dilate and constrict. Okay, so the pupil will constrict when you don't need enough of light. Then these circular muscles, these are circular muscles, and these are radial muscles. Radial muscles are to widen your pupil. So when radial muscles, then what will happen is the pupil becomes bigger in size like this, especially in the dark. When you are in the dark, when you are in the dim light, the size of the pupil will dilate, means the size of the pupil will widen and become bigger in size. So the circular muscle is used for constriction, to constrict, and the radial muscle is used to widen. The radial muscle is used to widen. So this is what happens actually, how the light enters. Actually light falls on the eye, on the iris here like this. So or the light which is falling in the iris will reflect back. It will reflect back. So if it is reflecting black light, your eyes are black in color. If it is reflecting green light, your eyes are green in color. Depending upon the refraction, you can tell what is the color of your eye. Okay, so this is the pupil. Now, then this white part is the sclera. Okay, upon this white part, the sclera it is covered by a thin layer called as like this. Only this part, which is called as conjunctiva, which is a transparent one. Conjunctiva. Okay, you must have heard the word conjunctivitis. Generally, you call it as an eye infection, where it is a viral infection which passes from one person to another. It remains in a body for 3-4 days, and then your eyes become reddish in color. That is actually because of conjunctiva becoming red in color. The outermost layer above the sclera, the outermost layer of it is called as the conjunctiva, and then it is called as the disease or the viral infection is called as conjunctivitis. It is called as conjunctivitis. And so this white part is covered with conjunctiva. Already I told you. Then this iris is covered by, this iris again has a covering. Only this part is having a covering called as cornea. It is a dome shaped structure covering the cornea. So this covering is called as, the innermost is called as, that means the sclera is the white part. Covering it is the conjunctiva, and this is covered by cornea. Cornea. Only this part is covered by cornea. Sometimes the cornea becomes opaque. It is a transparent one. Conjunctiva is a transparent one, as well as cornea also is a transparent one. Sometimes the cornea turns opaque. So when it turns opaque, you can replace it. So especially like some people donate their eyes after their death. They donate their eyes after death. So the doctors remove the eye and the cornea, they remove the cornea from the person and then they slice it. Actually previously it was only one was replaced by the other, but now it can be sliced into 2-3, and then that can be put to a person whose cornea is opaque, whose cornea has turned opaque, and then they can have vision. So that is the cornea. These same structures, let us look here in this diagram of the eye. This is the LS of the eye, the section of the eye, and I mean the inner part like this. When you look at it, it's not a section but the inner part. See, this is the sclera. Sclera is the outermost layer of the eye. The outermost layer of the eye. It is a white color tissue. It is a fibrous tissue which is a protective covering, which acts as a protective covering. It is a white color substance and it acts as a protective covering. Okay. It also maintains the shape of the eyeball. The sclera also maintains the shape of the eyeball, and it contains a fibrous tissue which is white in color. Okay. Then this being outer protect all the inner parts of the eye. Right. This is the sclera. Then coming to conjunctiva. Look at conjunctiva. So if you look at the sclera, it continues like this. Continues and becomes the cornea. See this one? This is the continuation like this, and then this is the cornea. See this cornea. Okay? Cornea. Okay, cornea covering this thing. Then the second, look at what is that? The iris. The iris. So this part, because you cannot, when you look at the side view, it looks like this. This part is the iris. Let me again draw and show you. This part is the iris. Okay? Iris. And the opening, the center opening is the pupil. Look at this opening. In between the iris in the center, there is an opening called as pupil, through which the light falls. Through which the light enters. Light enters into our eye through the pupil. Okay, then what are the other parts? That's all. Iris, pupil, cornea, sclera and conjunctiva. See this conjunctiva, the outermost one. The outermost. So this is the outermost one. This is called as the conjunctiva. The outermost layer is called as the conjunctiva. So these are the parts, few parts of the eye. Now, what is the second layer of the eye? The second layer of the eye is the choroid. This is the choroid layer. Actually, there are 3 protective layers. The first one is sclera, second one is choroid, and third one is retina. The second layer is choroid layer, which is dark in color. You can see it's dark in color, and it contains a pigment called as dark black pigment called as melanin. It contains a pigment called as melanin. And this melanin, this choroid also helps in the nourishment of the eye. It helps in the nourishment of the eye. It contains a black pigment called as melanin. Melanin. Right? So that is the second layer, choroid. And this continuation of the choroid continues into a ciliary body. If you see this choroid, it continues into a body, or like this from here, if you see this is the choroid, the black one. It continues into a body called as ciliary body or ciliary muscle. You call it a ciliary muscle also. Then what is the function of the ciliary muscle? it alters the shape of the lens. Okay, we'll see that. Altering the shape of the lens, I'll tell you. It alters the shape of the lens, right? Altering the shape of the lens, either more flattened or more rounded, you can see that, okay? Altering the shape of the lens. Then you see one structure here, the same thing here, like this, these two. They are called as suspensory ligament. Suspensory ligament. It is to hold the lens in position. Suspensory ligament is something, it's a ligament holding the lens in position. Tries to hold the lens in position. So that is called as a suspensory ligament. Okay. Right. Now let us look at how light falls into our eye. Look at, already you have seen, this is the iris and this is the pupil. Now the same structure, I would like to draw it like this, and so hence the opening of the pupil is like this. Opening of the pupil is like this, right? And then you have, when you see like this, light actually enters like this. Light enters. So the light which is entering like this will refract. If it is falling on the iris, it will refract. But the light which is falling in the pupil enters into your eye. This light refracts. That is the color of the eye. If it is brown color, brown light will refract. And the light rays that enters into the eye falls on the retina. So this is the pupil. This is the pupil. Okay. Through this light enters into the eye and it is falling on the retina. It falls on the retina. This innermost layer of the eye is called as the retina. Okay. So what is the retina? Retina is the innermost structure and it contains what you can say sense cells. It contains sensory cells. It contains sensory cells called as rods and cones. Retina contains sensory cells called as rods and cones. Rods contain a pigment called as rhodopsin. Rods contain a pigment called rhodopsin and cones contain a pigment called as iodopsin or photopsin also. Iodopsin or photopsin. Then how does this rods, then when you look at the retina like this innermost layer, okay, I shall rub this and only show you what happens inside the retina. If this is the retina, I told that they contain rods and cones. Then rods are very sensitive to dim light. That means they work properly in the dim light or when the light is very less. They work during the night time or when the light is dim. And cones are very sensitive to bright light. Now, right now it is daytime, so cones are very sensitive to bright light. And rods, cones are responsible for color vision. If you are able to see colors, this is due to the cones present on the retina. Due to the cones present on the retina. And rods can see only black and white colors. Mostly black and white colors are visible by rods. And cones can see all the color. It is responsible for color vision. And then rods are actually, when you look at this one, this is the retina, the inner part. These are the rods, nothing. You can imagine that they are rod-shaped structures. The cells, they are the sensory cells. Sensory, you know the meaning of sensory, which can sense, okay? Sensory cells called as rods. And as the shape calls, you can call cones. These are the cones, okay? Then again, that means what you can observe here is the rods are more in number comparing to the cones. Rods are more in number comparing to the cones. Okay, this is how the rods are on the retina. Then these rods, each rod is like this, rod as well as the cone. Okay, hope you can understand. Okay, these all get connected through neurons. They all get connected like this through neurons. These are neurons. Okay, and they form a ganglia. This is the ganglia. Okay, this is one, this is one, this is one. These are all ganglia. All these ganglia together will get connected to the nerve. All these ganglia like this get connected to a nerve and form a nerve called as optic nerve. Optic nerve. As soon as light falls on this, okay, let me tell you, optic nerve which leaves out like this. See, this is the optic nerve which leaves, and then as soon as the image falls on the retina, when the image falls on the retina, the electric impulses will start traveling through the optic nerve and reaches the brain. And in the brain, when you look at the diagram of the brain, you can say there is a vision, there is a place for vision. So what you have visualized just now, the brain tells you, and it comes back again to the retina. That is how you will know that, you will know what you have seen. So these are the rods and cones which are sensory cells. Rods are rod shaped, cones are cone shaped. Because of that, the name is given that way. And then they all have neurons like this. These are all the neurons, and these neurons get connected to the ganglia, and from the ganglia they all form a nerve, and then they form different nerves, and then they come out in the form of optic nerve. This optic nerve has a connection to the brain and interprets the brain, tells the brain what it has visualized. That is how it happens. Okay. Now this is about the rods and cones. And rods, you can observe rods are numerous in number compared to the cones. Rods are numerous in number compared to the cones. And then coming to the next part, when you look at this one, so this is the retina. This is the retina. Okay, and then light is entering through the pupil onto the retina, and the image falls in the retina. The image that falls in the retina is always real and inverted. It is real and inverted. Okay, you know that, right? Coming to the next part, what is the yellow spot? Yellow spot, you can see one yellow spot here, and there is a blind spot. What is the yellow spot and the blind spot? In the yellow spot, here near the yellow spot, the number of cones are more. The number of cones are more. So if this is the yellow spot, it is almost horizontal to the lens, straight to the lens, it is almost like that. And then here, if this is the yellow spot, the number of cone cells present are more in number, and rod cells are fewer. Rods are fewer, cones are more. The number of cone cells are more. So that yellow spot is called as the area of best vision. It is called as area of best vision. Yellow spot also has some other names like fovea centralis, macula lutea. Okay, so many names. Be thorough with yellow spot. Yellow spot can also be called as fovea centralis and macula lutea. So this is called as area of best vision. The yellow spot is called as the area of best vision. What is the meaning of area of best vision? So when you can, that means when you are visualizing things, it falls on the yellow spot and you can see things very clearly. Say for example, when you are reading a book, when you read a book, your eyes keep moving. Actually, why do your eyes keep moving? The image what you are watching is exactly falling on the yellow spot, and so your eyes keep, otherwise you need not move your eyes, you can simply see like this, but the concentration or the focus is on the yellow spot. And this yellow spot contains maximum number of cones. That is what I have already told you. Then later into that, when you look at another point here like this, there is a spot called as blind spot. It is called as blind spot. This is called as area of no vision. This is the best vision. Area of best vision. And this is area of no vision. What is the meaning of no vision? This doesn't contain any sensory cells at all. No rods, no cones. Why? Just now I just erased it. All the ganglia, all the nerves, they all exactly point. If this is the rods and cones, they all exactly converge here. They converge, see, converging like this. They converge, and when they come to this area, they don't have any sensory cells. neither rods nor cones. So you cannot see anything here. They come out in the form of optic nerve. They are coming out. So this is the blind spot. That's why we call it as blind, no vision. Okay, it comes out in the form of optic nerve and leaves the goes to the brain. So that is called as blind spot. Okay. Now, when you come to the next structure called as lens, this is the lens. Okay. What is the shape of the lens? It is a biconvex crystalline body. It is transparent and it is biconvex crystalline body, and it is made up of lens fibers, and then the lens is collectively held in position. Just now I told this lens is held in position, okay, by a structure called as suspensory ligament. Suspensory ligament. When I was teaching you nervous system, the brain, I told you there are some cells which cannot be replaced. Once lost are lost forever. Lens is one among them. Okay, the lens has no nuclei in it. Because there is no nuclei, there is no centrosome. No centrosome, once anything goes wrong with the lens, it is lost forever. So the lens is collectively what you can say, it does not have the nuclei. It has lost their nuclei. And so this is about the lens. Coming to the next part, you can see two chambers here. This is one area. If I can draw like this, darken it like this, this part, this space is called as aqueous humor. Aqua, the meaning of aqua is water. It is filled with a watery substance called as aqueous humor. And what is this? What is the use of this aqueous humor? It will keep the lens moist and protect it. The lens is kept moist because of the aqueous humor, and also it refracts light. It will try to refract the light. So that is the function of aqueous humor. It is just in front of the lens, just in front of the lens. Then what is this vitreous humor? This is also, this whole space is filled with vitreous humor. Vitreous means like a jelly-like or glassy-like substance, and it is also like it protects the eye, the innermost eye, and if this vitreous humor was not there, this eye would have collapsed because of the, what you can say, because of the weight of the upper part of the eye. This eye would have collapsed if there is no vitreous humor. So vitreous humor also, it keeps the keeps the shape of the eyeball. The eyeball is having a particular shape because of the presence of that jelly-like substance called as vitreous humor. That is about vitreous humor. Then already you have seen that how light rays enters. Light rays enters into our eye through the pupil. It goes into the eye through the actually conjunctiva, cornea, pupil, and then finally falls on the retina. What does retina contain? They contain rods and cones. Rods contain a pigment called as rhodopsin. Cones contain iodopsin. Rods are sensitive to which light? Dim light. Okay, that means you can see clearly in the dim light. Rods are responsible for dim vision, and then cones are responsible for bright vision. That is already done. And then what is the meaning of power of accommodation? Power of accommodation. Now, clear nearer objects and farer objects. Near and far. Do you think we use the same power to see objects which are close and which are farther? No, it doesn't happen. The power of accommodation differs. Okay, so the process of focusing the eye to see object at different distances is called as power of accommodation. The power changes. So, say for example, this is something which is, this is an object. This is an object which is very far. And then this is the lens. And then this is the retina on which the object, falls. The structure of the object falls. And then it falls on the retina, or the object should fall on the retina. When you look at this one like this, okay, this is the farer object. To see a farer object, this is how it is. Okay, the bending is less. When the bending is less, the power required is also less. To see farer objects, the power which is required is less. Since the bending is less, the power required is also less. Now, let us look at an object which is close, and then so this is the object which is coming from far, and now this is the object here. This is the object very close, and when you look at the object very close like this, okay, this is the retina again. Here, when you compare this one, the bending will be actually more. The bending is more. Okay, more the bending of the light, more closer is the object. Okay, less bending, less power required. Okay, then if it is bending more, then more power is required. Okay, less bending, less power, and if it is bending more, you require more power. Okay, now let us see what happens exactly. Okay, if this is the lens, a normal lens, okay, if the object is falling exactly on the retina like this, if the image is falling exactly on the retina, you can see these are the light rays entering. This is the normal vision. That means the person doesn't have any problem with the eye. His vision is normal. That kind of vision is called as normal vision. Okay. So this is from the far. Say for example, sometimes people suffer from different before this people suffer from diseases called as myopia and hyperopia. In this case, what happens is the object does not fall on the retina. The object, if the person is suffering from myopia. What is the meaning of myopia? Nearsightedness. It is called as nearsightedness. Means near objects can be seen very clearly. The farer objects cannot be seen. Near objects can be seen clearly and the far objects cannot be seen. For example, especially students. School going children and college going, those whose parents come and request, please allow my child to sit in the first bench. He is unable to see the board from the last bench. So this kind of cases can be called as myopia cases because the person is not able to visualize objects from a farer region. So if they are close, they can, that means if you are able to visualize the nearer objects and not able to see the farer objects, it is called as myopia or also called as short-sightedness. In this case, what happens is, instead of the image falling on the retina, the image falls here in front of the retina. Then what happens? It looks like this. So that this is where the image is. Because the image is falling in front of the retina, the vision is blurred. The person cannot see properly. Okay, so this is called as myopia. Then, what could be the reason for this myopia? The eyeball becomes long. The eyeball must have become long, and also the lens must have become too curved. This is the normal size of the lens. Too curved means the lens must have become like this, rounded, more convex. So, more convex, it has become more convex. In order to correct this, we have to use a concave lens because it has become more convex. For correction, we need to use a concave lens. This is called as concave lens. When you use a concave lens, immediately the vision becomes normal. The image falls on the retina. The image will fall on the retina. This is the entry of the light. Okay, the image falls in the retina. So this is called as, what is the disease actually? It is myopia, meaning nearsightedness, means the person is able to see near objects very clearly but not the farer objects. Why? The reason is the eyeball has become more lengthened, or you can say that the lens has become too convex like this. Okay, too rounded in shape. In order to correct this, you have to use a concave lens. Concave lens should be used. then the image will fall exactly on the retina. Then what is the meaning of long-sightedness? Long-sightedness, say for example, this is about short-sightedness. In the case of long-sightedness, the person can see the, what you can say, farer objects very clearly, but the closer objects he cannot see properly. The far objects can be visualized clearly, but the close objects cannot be seen clearly. So in this case, what happens is, if this is the lens and then if this is the retina, the image falls behind the retina. This is the retina. Actually, it should fall exactly on the retina, on the sensory cells, but it is falling behind the retina, and so vision is not clear in that kind of person. So what is the meaning of this one? The object is very close, and the person is not able to see the closer objects. He is not able to see the closer objects because it is falling behind the retina. Hence, what happens in this case? The lens is more flattened like this. It becomes more flattened. So what you have to do for correction? You need to take a convex lens. So you will take a convex lens for correction. This is the lens, and then this is the convex lens for correction. When you use a convex lens, then what happens? Immediately the image exactly falls on the retina like this. Then it is corrected. That is called as long-sightedness and myopia, short-sightedness, and hyperopia or hypermetropia. You can call it as hypermetropia also, which is called as long-sightedness. Okay. Then there are some other defects also called as astigmatism. In this astigmatism, some parts of the objects will be seen clearly, while others are blurred, you can say. This is due to uneven curvature of the cornea. See, this is the cornea. Okay, this is the cornea. The cornea is dome shaped, I told. It is like this. Okay, the cornea is dome shaped. But if the person is suffering from astigmatism, uneven curvature may be something. It is something uneven like that. It is not a proper curve. Uneven curvature of the cornea. This cornea leads to an eye disease called as astigmatism. It is called as astigmatism. Then, how do you correct this one? To correct this disease, we use cylindrical lens. Cylindrical lens is used. Say for example, to correct myopia, we used concave lens. Okay. To correct hyperopia, we are using convex lens. Like that, to correct astigmatism, you have to use cylindrical lens. Okay, these are various eye diseases. You just need to know what is the reason of that eye disease and how do you correct, how do you bring vision back to that kind of eye disease. Next, there is another disease called as presbyopia. Presbyopia. This comes due to age. As the person becomes older and older, maybe he is very fine in his younger age, but as he grows older, the lens will lose its flexibility. The lens, this is the lens, it will be losing its flexibility. Okay, it will keep on shaking like this. It will be losing its flexible actually, but it will be losing its flexibility due to the age, and then that can be corrected. Then due to that reason, they cannot see the near objects very clearly, and then this can be corrected again by using convex lens. It can be corrected by using convex lens. Next one is a cataract. Here what happens is, the lens itself will turn opaque. The lens itself will turn opaque. Opaque means, transparent, see-through, opaque, you cannot see objects. So the lens will turn opaque, and in that case what happens is, you have to use, it should be removed, the lens should be removed by operation, and then they have to place convex lens again. Convex lens should be placed. The lens is removed by a small surgical operation, and then it is replaced by convex lens. Okay. Then next kind of disease is called as night blindness. Night blindness. Night blindness means the person is not able to see properly during the night time. Which sensory cell is responsible for night vision? Rods, rhodopsin. That means these rods are not forming properly in the night time for a person suffering from night blindness. That means the regeneration of the rhodopsin is not taking place. Rods are not properly present in this, the regeneration of the rhodopsin is not taking place properly. Hence this person suffers from night blindness. Means he cannot see things properly during the night, but during the daytime his vision is proper because cones function during the bright light. So then it is proper. Okay, that is called as night blindness. Then what is color blindness? Color blindness is a genetic defect. It is genetic defect which we get it through the parents, and this kind of people cannot see the difference between or know the difference between red and green color. They cannot know which one is, if you put red and green color side by side, both will look alike. So they cannot differentiate between red color and green color. And the last one is squint eye. Okay, squint eye is a person, say for example, if these are the eyes, both the eyes, you can see the iris may be coming to both the eyes. If the both eyes are defected, the iris will come to one corner of the eye, which is called as, you can call it as a cross eye. You can call it as cross eye, or sometimes they go to the either side also, like this, towards that side also, which is called as wide eye, cross eye or wide eye. So these are some of the diseases connecting to the eyes, which can be corrected by using either convex lens or concave lens depending upon the type of disease. And one more topic is there called as dark adaptation and light adaptation. Adapting, what is meaning of adapting? Adjusting yourself. Say for example, let us take the example when you go to a theater, you go to a cinema hall. Think about a matinee show. In the matinee show, you go to the theater at 2 o'clock for some time when outside the light is very bright. But inside the theater it is very, very dark. So as soon as you go to the theater, what happens is let us talk about, this is the pupil and this is the iris. Okay? And let us talk about this retina also, where rods and cones are present. Okay. So as soon as you enter the theater, now your vision is, it will take time for you to see, you look at your seats or whatever it is. Then the size of the pupil starts becoming bigger and bigger. That means the radial muscles will widen and then the size of the pupil becomes bigger. What is the reason for till now you were in the bright light. Bright light means cones are responsible for bright vision. But now when you have come to the dark, your eyes should get adapted to the dark. And then the cones will break and rods will take the place of the cones. The cones will break down and rods will take the place, and so it is called as regeneration of rhodopsin. The rhodopsin pigment will form then and there, because you came from very bright light, you came into the dark room. So immediately the regeneration of rhodopsin will take place, and also your pupil also will dilate. Your pupil will try to dilate. It will become bigger in size for you to have a proper vision in the dark. Right? The movie is over, you enjoyed, you came out. Now that is matinee, I told, maybe you came out at 5 o'clock when there is still brighter vision, bright light outside. Then what will happen? Immediately after coming out of the theater, you will not be able to see things properly. It will take time. Actually, what is taking time here? Adjustment of now in the dark light, in the dim light, your rods are very active. Rods are working in the dim light. But now when you came out to the bright light, your cones start getting activated. So regeneration of iodopsin. Cones, the rods will dissolve now. The rods will start dissolving and cones will come and take its place. So the cones will get activated. So regeneration of iodopsin. And immediately this much of light is not required into the eye. So the pupil starts becoming smaller. Constriction. the pupil gets constricted. The pupil gets constricted. This is the eye, already I told you, this is the pupil. Okay, so that is what happens, called as dark adaptation and light adaptation. Dark adaptation means getting used to darkness, getting used to a dark place, from bright light into dark place. Light adaptation means getting used to bright place, from a theater, going out from a theater into the light. Okay, so this is about this lesson. So different parts and structures, and then I have already told you these three are the protective layer. I told you the importance of yellow spot, and which is the area of best vision, where all the, what you can say, cones are mostly accumulated in this place, present in this place. Blind spot, and then ciliary body, conjunctiva, cornea, pupil, this is the pupil, and this is the iris, this is the iris, this part is the iris, and then this is the sclera, and suspensory ligament holds the lens in position. And so these are the various parts. First of all, when you go through this lesson, first read the names of all the parts. First thoroughly know the names of the parts. Then you start going into the functions. Read the lesson, and I will also post notes for you. Thank you very much.